Good morning. I think I'll talk to you a bit later on because everybody's asleep still up there. And I don't want to make too much noise. I've just had to sneak between all their caravans to get my gear down here. So I'll talk to you a bit later on.
About you, that's different. I see it in your eyes.
Well, I can make lots of noise now. Gee, they sleep late in caravan parks. So as you can see, it's a nice chilly morning. I think it's 0 degrees, feels like -3. So a cold start, but a nice one all the same. The weather's looking good for the next 2 days, and I'm going to get 3 days of rain, which will be quite miserable, but may as well enjoy the good weather while I can. So I've just had a lovely couple of days in Swan Hill. Had a good chance yesterday to spend a couple of hours cleaning all the mud out of everything, which was nice. So I've got a clean boat, clean gear, clean everything now, which is great. And then a good friend of mine, Carly, came up from Ballarat with her mum to visit. So they drove 3.5 hours or so to come up and spend the day with me, which was very nice. So we had lunch and visited the sights of Swan Hill, including the giant Murray cod, opposed to the big Murray cod in Tokemwall. They've got the giant Murray cod here in Swan Hill. So it was nice just to hang out with them for the day. And yeah, feeling very rested. Alrighty, so 250 kilometres this week down to Robinvale. So it should take me 6 days to get there. So that's about 40-45 k's a day, which is very manageable. Alright, I'm going to keep paddling because I've got to warm up. Did I mention it's cold? My fingertips are frozen. The sun's coming up. It's getting there. Soon it'll be above the trees and I'll start warming up. But man, freezing.
Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again.
So it is shortcut time. So the Murray goes that way, but it also goes that way. And that way is a much longer way. So here in the middle is what's known as Beveridge Island. So if you look here on the map, you can see we're down here. And this is Beveridge Island here. So I'm going to go this route and not go around the Big Pelican and go that way. So all in all, I think that should save me about 6 kilometres. People wonder why I don't want to paddle in summer. I can tell you why, because it's 7 degrees now and I'm stinking hot. Oh my god, sitting in the sun, it's just gone from freezing cold to just hot, sweaty, and it's lovely. It's a lovely day. But for once I'm actually wishing there was a little bit of breeze, because god, it's baking out here. Anyway, 7 degrees, hot and balmy.
We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll.
What's really nice is because the last couple of days have been really sunny, a lot of the mud has dried out. So you can see here, this bank probably would have been fairly muddy and sticky last few days ago, but it's now quite solid. So hopefully that's good for the next day or two until it starts raining. What day is it today? It's Monday. I think Wednesdays it's meant to start raining. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'm sure it'll go back to being gross and sticky, but next couple of days should be nice, hopefully.
Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right.
Well, that was a lovely day today. I think you look at the water down there, it's still glassy. There hasn't been any wind all day and it's just been beautiful sunshine. So I got a little bit fussy with my campsites this afternoon. So I think I stopped 2 or 3 times, got out, checked out decent spots, but wasn't overly happy with them. But I found a pretty good spot here. So the boat is down there, no mud, perfect. Then I got a nice little area here on the edge of the bank to have my fire and dinner, and then way over there in the bushes, past the bushes. There's a nice piece of grass out there that I'm going to put my tent so I don't have to be under one of the big trees. Alrighty, I'm going to go and get everything set up and have a nice relaxing afternoon.
Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right.
Don't worry, I'm not going to demonstrate it for you. But I figure we're now into the 9th episode of this video series, and people are itching to ask how you go to the toilet in the bush. I know they are. So I thought I'd address it, because I figure you guys know me well enough now and our relationship is strong enough to talk about these sensitive topics. So going to the bathroom out in the bush. So there's a number of tips and tricks that I like to always recommend. There's actually a really good book called How to Shit in the Woods, which is really funny. I think it's written by someone called Kathleen Myers. A lot of outdoor stores used to sell it. And yeah, some of the key tips that I recommend are things like, firstly, go when you want to, not when you need to. You want to take time and enjoy your moment. Don't be in a rush and scrambling through the bush trying to find somewhere to go. And yeah, take your time to find a nice spot. You also want to get about as far away from the river as you possibly can. So at least 50, or they recommend 200 meters. So just go into the bush and find yourself a good spot. And I always recommend find yourself a nice big log to lean up against, or if you're lucky, find a log with a fork in it and you can make yourself a nice toilet seat. And then you're going to carry your little trowel, which also doubles up as your toilet roll holder. And yeah, dig your hole and do your business. Now, toilet paper is the contentious issue. I actually either burn my toilet paper or I carry it out with me in like an old Ziploc bag or a dog poo bag, and get rid of it when I'm somewhere a bit more civilized than burying in the bush, because so many campsites now, you just see them. You see the toilet paper just floating around, and then you see lots of those moist wipes as well. Toilet paper doesn't biodegrade really quickly. I think people think it does. But if you go and wet a piece of wad of toilet paper and throw it on your back deck and see it cook in the sun, you'll see it turns into paper mache. And that's just what it looks like out here. It's just lots of dunny paper everywhere. So yeah, if you can, take it home with you or burn it. Don't assume that it's just going to be sitting under a few sticks and leaves and it's going to stay there and no one's going to see it. So yeah, that's going to the toilet. It happens, it's natural, you may as well enjoy it, take your time and do it, and yeah, they're my tips. So for dinner tonight, we've got a rustic lamb Rogan Josh. So these spice tailors are my new discovery in the supermarket. So you get all the different parts and the spices, and I've got some lamb that I froze last night from the supermarket, and we've got some garlic naan as well. This is so good. I reckon this is the best meal that I've had on this trip so far. Might have overdone the lamb a little bit, but it's got so much flavour. It's so good. Well, good morning. What a lovely sunrise that is. I think it's a bit of a shepherd's warning though, because the front's meant to be coming through later this evening, so it's going to get wet and miserable. Interesting thing happened last night. I was sitting by the fire and there was all this screeching coming out of the tree next to the fire. And I thought it was some bats, so I walked over and I shone my torch on there and saw these two owls were sitting there, and so I got some video of them. Then I went back to sit at the fire and I was playing back the video, and the sound of the owls on my video seemed to piss off the owls. So next thing I know, I look up and they're flying straight at my face. So luckily they veered off about a metre away from me, but God, it scared the crap out of me. So anyway, I won't do that again. Yeah, short day today. I'm just paddling down to somewhere down near Tooley Buck. I think it's only about 35 k's. I don't know if I'll even go into the town. I don't think there's much there, but yeah, it's going to be a cold day, but I think then it's going to get quite wet later on this evening. So let's see. Fun, fun, fun! So this morning Kath recommended to me a podcast called The Junkies, which is Kitty Flanagan and Dave O'Neill talking about junk food. So all morning I have been craving junk food, and I've been craving twisties especially. And I was trying to work out how I was going to get some, because later today I'm passing Tooleybuck, but apparently it's pretty hard to get out of the water there. And then I was just coming around a corner just then, and I found this little boat ramp, and I saw above the hill this big green building up here, which appears to be a general store. So I'm off to go and get twisties. You have absolutely no idea how happy I am, because that shop was a godsend. I've just been thinking about twisties for like 3 or 4 hours non-stop, and they had them. Smallest packet I've ever seen, but they had them. They also had coffee and a roast beef and gravy roll. Oh god, I'm in heaven. It's amazing how much you start craving things, and once it's in your head you can't stop thinking about it. So I've only got about 3 more hours, I think. I don't have to stop at Tooleybuck, which was going to be a hassle because it was going to be tricky getting out of the boat ramp and walking into town and stuff to get my twisties. So now I can skip it, and yeah, it's going to be a much cruisier afternoon before the rain starts.
I'm losing myself in the city. Sounds for a while I'm fine, but as soon as it gets quiet, I know I'm screwed. Ooh, I can hear my own heart breaking in my heart.
Tooleybuck. This is a town on the New South Wales side. I am glad I don't have to be climbing up that bank to try and get myself twisties. But I tell you what, my craving was bad enough that I probably would have a crack at it. But yeah, I've got about 3 k's more to go, and then I'm getting to a campsite, and then I can eat my twisties. I've been saving them for myself. I've kind of been torturing myself, but I thought I'd enjoy them more at the end of the day. So it's just gone 4 o'clock. I did find the campsite that I was planning to camp at last night, but it was pretty exposed and not very big, and it was right next to a road, so I've decided to push on. But unfortunately there's not many good spots along here. Well, there's none because it's all cliffs, but there is a regional park in about another 8 kilometres, so I'm pushing sort of hard to get there before sunset. The water's flowing at the moment. I'm doing about 10 k's an hour, so I should be there by 5. But yeah, it won't be a leisurely afternoon. I thought today was going to be a short day of 33 kilometres, but I think in the end I'm going to probably end up being closer to 50. That's alright. It's a nice day, and it means tomorrow in the rain it will be less of a paddle. Excuse my heavy breathing, but I've just had to climb up this cliff here. So as you can see, it's pretty dark, so it's about, I don't know, 5:30, 20 to 6, so it's past sunset. And my campsite I have found is terrible. In fact, it's miles through the bushes there, so I'll crank up the, I have to crank up the ISO so you can actually see where this place is. But whew, it's going to be horrible tomorrow morning when it's pissing with rain climbing down this cliff. But as you can see, I've run out of light, so I have no choice. Okay, got to keep going. So this is my spot here. As you can see, it's not too bad. It's just that it's a long way through the bush to actually where my boat is. So, but it doesn't matter. I've gone minimalistic tonight. So tonight is just about getting in the tent and eating in the tent and sleeping, and then getting ready for the wet tomorrow. Anyway, stamping through the bush. Oh, mozzies! Oh, it's all happening. I think I'm getting hungry. Gotta eat my twisties. That was a huge day. I was planning to do 35 kilometres and camp somewhere near Tooleybuck, but as you saw earlier, I decided that that was not the best place to be camping. It was fairly exposed, so I didn't really want to be dealing with the rain and the wind tonight in an exposed spot. So I've pushed on to this sort of state park in the Victorian side. So a day that was going to be 35 kilometres ended up being 55 kilometres, which is a big day. But that's alright, because tomorrow I was going to be doing about 45 k's I think, and now that I've knocked off 20 k's of that, it's going to be a lot less painful if it's pouring with rain and windy and stuff. So we'll just see how it pans out in the morning, because it's meant to be raining I think from about 9-10 o'clock tonight, and then pretty much all the way through till lunchtime, and then maybe easing up a bit. So we'll play it all by ear tomorrow, but I'm just going to assume it's all going to be wet. So camping fairly minimalistic tonight. I didn't bring any of the things like chairs and all the luxuries up that I'd normally have, because I just don't want to be dealing with that bank in the morning in the rain. Alright, well tonight is beef ravioli with some sort of sauce, some creamy tomato sauce. So I'm going to get that happening, but in the meantime, finally celebrating eating my twisties. I've been craving them all day. I decided to hold them off till I got to my campsite, and now that I'm here, I can celebrate eating the twisties.
Stand if we do, stand if we don't, stand if we give what we want to what we want.
It's 2 a.m. and I can't fall asleep, 'cause I'm not tired. I'm thinking about the days we used to shine when we were young.
Welcome to paradise. Actually, it's not too bad. It is raining. It started at about 5:30 this morning, and it's not too heavy, so it's not too bad. And this tarp here is absolutely my godsend. I think it's my new favourite piece of equipment, because it's nice just sitting underneath the shelter here. So been sort of thinking while lying in my sling bag, thinking about what I was going to do today, because I have two choices. I either hang out here in the relative dry, because I'm already set up, for a few hours, and then paddle down my 25 kilometres and find somewhere to camp, or I pack up and go now and then get down somewhere past the 25 kilometre point and then go and find the most ideal campsite, knowing that the ground will still be wet, but at least I'm kind of on my way. And that's kind of the way I think I've decided I'm going to go. I think sitting around here I'll just get a bit frustrated in the middle of the bush, so I'm going to push on and go and hang out somewhere else under my tarp. But hopefully this will clear up by this evening, but we'll see how it goes. It feels like it's settled in for a while.
I can hear the raindrops falling. It's cold outside, and I kind of feel like calling, but it's too late now. I just miss you.
You remember the other day when I said the mud was all starting to dry out? Well, it's back, and it's back with a vengeance. I'm finally on the water. I'll tell you what, packing the boat is a hard enough job anyway every day, but in the rain and the mud, ugh, it's just gross.
It's 2 a.m. and I can't fall asleep. I'm just not tired.
Finally, a break from the rain. It's gonna go. It's gonna rain again, but it's just nice to get the hood off and actually enjoy the paddle a bit. Anyway, my hands are cold and pruny underneath my gloves. My legs are kind of damp. I'm going to pretty much hit my 25 kilometres today, find a campsite and sit around all afternoon drinking a cup of soup, I think. Raining again. A carpet ramp and some stairs behind it. I think this is going to be my campsite tonight, because I ain't going to get anything better than that, I don't think. Well, it's a good campsite, but God, everything's muddy. I just slid on my ass down there, so you can see here. Lovely. You can see my Crocs. Just lovely. Everything is just lovely. Well, that all got a little bit too hard towards the end. God, the mud is just gross. It's not deep mud, it's just slippery mud, and it's just sliding around on the bank, sliding on your ass, the whole lot. So everything's all a little bit muddy and wet and gross. That's right, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm under my little shelter here. The sky looks like it's sort of fining up, but I don't hold my breath about that. But I'm now sitting here about to make myself some food because I'm getting a little hangry as well. But yeah, just wet stuff. Means tomorrow I'm going to have to put on wet clothes, which is never pleasant on a cold morning, but that's right. I'll enjoy the moment now while I'm dry and comfortable. So this is my campsite. I haven't yet worked out where I'm going to be putting my tent. I don't know, I may even just stick it under the shelter here. It's too hard. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it out over there so it's not under a tree. That's probably the right thing to do. It means the tent will be wet as well, but hey, that's what camping's all about. Check it out! Blue sky! The rain has finally cleared and we're done with rain for the day or the night, which is awesome. So I can get my tent up now and it won't get soggy wet. Well, it's already wet, but it won't get as wet. Good morning. How is that sunshine? I'm just sort of soaking it in at the moment. So it's about 8:30. It just took me literally, no, not literally, I don't like that word. It took me nearly an hour to pack the boat. Not carry the gear, but just pack it because the bank was so muddy and slippery because it rained for a few more hours last night that I just had to be careful not to fall in. So everything was done in slow motion. I only slipped down that carpet of death once and went up to my shins in the water, but got everything in, everything's packed, and now I can start paddling in the sunshine. So it's 30-ish, 32-ish kilometres down to Boundary Bend, where there is a great shop and a caravan park. I don't think it's a great caravan park, I think it's just basic, so I'm just camping there. Yeah, so looking forward to getting down there and maybe even drying some gear out. Oh, the sun's getting bright. All right, gonna paddle, 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 paddle.
Way back then. It's funny how times roll by.
Well, that's very exciting. I've just hit the halfway mark, so a great milestone. I've done 1,256 kilometres and I've got another 1,256 kilometres to go. So I'm just celebrating with a ginger nut because that's all I have at hand, but yeah, very happy about that. Well, there she is, the mighty Murrumbidgee River. So this is where the Murrumbidgee joins up with the Murray. The Murrumbidgee is my favourite river in the world. You'll see that there's lots of videos on my YouTube channel of me paddling down the Murrumbidgee. So it comes down from up in the mountains behind Canberra and then goes via Canberra through Gundagai and Wagga Wagga and Narrandera and then down to Balranald and then down to here. As always, when another river joins, it doesn't make it any faster, it just makes it a lot wider. But that's okay. The only issue with it being wide is that this headwind is getting a bit crazy, and the wider the river, the windier it seems to be. So it's a bit of a slog. I've got about, I don't know, 10 more Ks to go to Boundary Bend. So gotta just slog against this wind. I'll take rain over wind anytime. God damn it. Boundary Bend, the destination for today. So welcome to Boundary Bend Caravan Park. This is my spot here. Definitely not the most pretty spot that I've ever had, because they obviously had some rain last night, because these are my water views. But yeah, I don't care, to be honest. After today, those mega headwinds and 42 kilometres, I am exhausted. The battery on this camera is about to go flat, but I'm happy because there's a petrol station next door full of snacks, and I'm going to sit here by my PowerPoint under my tarp and get my blog up to date and start editing some video tonight, because that's all I can be bothered doing. So yeah, ugly but practical.
Way back then.
An early start today. It's just before sunrise. Grey day, but I just wanted to get on the water before the westerly winds kicked in, the headwinds, because I'm heading west today. So I had an interesting night in the quirky caravan park last night. It was good, I got some sleep, but definitely had character. You can read my blog all about that one. Yeah, I'm going to try and do 45 to 50 k's today, because I've got 90 down to Robinvale to do over 2 days, but I've got to see what this weather's doing. They're predicting even possible thunderstorms today, but who knows. Got some not so good news last night. So Sydney has now got COVID cases and they're kind of going into lockdown, and Victoria has said that they're not letting Sydney, people that have been in Greater Sydney, into Victoria. So that kind of probably will screw things up, because Kath was going to come down to Mildura next week and spend a few days with me down there, and so she probably won't be able to do that now. So the current plan is my parents were going to come down too, so they can come down because they're from the country, and we'll hang out for a few days, and then Kath might try and meet up with me the following week down in Renmark in South Australia, assuming everything settles down and South Australians let Sydney people into South Australia. So ever-changing plans. It's becoming a bit of a logistics nightmare, but anyway, we're getting there. It's all just part of the fun. Okay, I'm going to start paddling, see how this headwind goes today. In the last day and a half, the river has changed a fair bit, because I think ever since we went past the Murrumbidgee, it's got a lot more long, straight sections that just keep going off into the distance, which is definitely a little bit different, because I'm used to going around all these windy bends and having the anticipation of what's around the next bend, where here it's just long, wide and straight. There's a nice rainbow just here. Oh, which way does it go? That way. Yes, there it is. So I've just done 47 kilometres and found a campsite. So I've come out here, but I've just found that over the hill there is a better spot. So I'm just going to paddle around there, because someone's already built a mud bridge, so I don't have to build one of those. Not that it really is needed here, but yeah, I don't think it's going to rain on me. Well, I think this will do quite nicely. A nice little spot to set up the tent, nice and sheltered, and a good little boat ramp down there. Someone's put some nice logs down there, so nice and easy to get out. So yeah, all in all, a good little spot. Morning! As you can see, it's very early, so it's about 10 to 7, about half an hour before sunrise. But I decided to get on the water very early this morning so I can get through the 45 kilometres I need to do and get down to Robinvale and enjoy a bit of the afternoon in Robinvale. It started raining last night at about 7 o'clock, so I ended up in my tent fairly early. So I ended up going to sleep very early, which meant I woke up very early, so I figured I may as well just get going. Alright, 45 k's, then a break, then a day off. Hooray! I'm very disappointed because that was meant to be a shortcut to bypass one of the bends in the river. But there's no way I'm getting through that, so I have to continue paddling up that highly overexposed area up there. Made it to Robinvale, so that's the end of this leg of the paddle. So that was, I think, 250 or so kilometres over the last 6 days, so that's quite a lot of paddling. And as you saw today and yesterday, the river has got a lot wider and a lot slower, so a lot of paddling. But anyway, I'm staying here in the Robinvale Caravan Park in a, I guess you call it a cabin. It's more like a construction site office. But it's fine, it's got a heater, it's got a fridge, it's got a bed, and it's going to be serving my purpose well for the next 2 nights. Anyway, next week I'm heading down to Mildura, so I think that's 5 days to get down there, and then having a break with my parents and not my wife Kath, because Sydney has gone down into full-blown lockdown now. But yeah, it'll be a nice chance to catch up with some family. And then heading off towards South Australia after that. Alright, time to go and get this video edited and see you next week.